Let's face it, DoorDash does not want us to make any money. Welcome to More Driven. My name is Blake Moore. On this channel, I talk all things DoorDash, Uber Eats, Instacart, Uber, Lyft, and any other apps that I cover on this channel so that I can take my 6 years of gig work experience and hopefully help you guys make more money along the way. So as I talked about in my last video, DoorDash drivers, Uber, and Lyft drivers are going on strike tomorrow, February 14th, on Valentine's Day. And in that video, I discussed how I didn't really think that strike would work. And so if you want to see my full thoughts on that strike, then you can click the video up at the top and then come back and watch this video. But in today's video, we're going to be going over a lot of important stuff. So if you're a new Dasher, or maybe you've only been doing it about a year, which is still new to me because I've been a DoorDash driver for almost 6 years, then I think you'll get a lot of valuable information out of this. So what do I mean by DoorDash doesn't want us to make any money? Now, I'll explain that throughout the video, so just stay tuned. But the reason I'm making this video is because it directly correlates to why I don't think a DoorDash strike is going to do anything and why we could strike however many times we want and nothing's going to change. And that is what I'm specifically talking about in this video. So the first thing that we need to talk about is, what is DoorDash's actual business model? How do they make money? What do they want to accomplish? And what are they using us for? Why do they have it structured the way that they do? And why are certain things the way that they are? So let me take you back to before 2018. Before 2018, every single DoorDash order was the same. It was, I believe it was $6.50, if I remember correctly. So every single order, regardless of the mileage, regardless of anything, was $6.50. And there was no variation. Even if someone tipped like $50, you would still just see $6.50, and that's all you would get. DoorDash would actually pocket the difference. So they got caught stealing the tips because obviously the customer thought that when they were tipping a lot, it was going directly to the Dasher. Little did they know the Dasher was only getting $6.50 regardless of how much they tipped. So they got caught doing that and they had to change things up. That is when we saw the introduction of the pay model that's similar to what we see today, where it has the base pay plus the tip. But back then, the base pay was $3 per order, which was really nice. And this was kind of a transition into the pandemic. In the pandemic, things were great, super busy, and the orders were honestly all pretty decent. There was hardly ever any no tip orders. And even if there was, at least it was $3 instead of $2 like we see today. So that takes us a little bit further, where they slowly lowered the base pay to $2.50 and then $2, and now even $1.50 we see on some orders, or $1 on stack orders. Like, it's pretty ridiculous how low the base pay has gotten. So why do I mention that? Because so far DoorDash is not a profitable company. And there's actually some specific reasons as to why this is. It's not that they don't make a lot of money and have a lot of top line sales. They just use their revenue to grow the company, which is smart of any business. That way they don't get taxed. They're not showing that they're profitable, and they can use the money they are making into marketing or into developing the app and making changes to that, or hiring out more people, or whatever it is. They're spending money on the business. So that's why they show up as non-profitable. But why it's important to understand why they've been lowering the base pay is because the fees have actually been going up while the base pay has been going down for us. So the fees that customers pay have just slowly increased over time. DoorDash has never been as expensive as it is right now, and the base pay has never been so low. So DoorDash is just pocketing the difference so that they can continue to take the market share. I mean, I just talked about in one of my recent videos the Super Bowl ad that they were doing, where I think it was almost $500,000 in giveaway prizes that they were doing. And then also they probably had to spend like $2 million just to run the ad on the Super Bowl. So, I mean, that's $2.5 million right there. They're not just creating that money out of thin air. They're getting that money off of the fees that customers are paying and off of lowering our base pay. And 50 cents doesn't sound like a whole lot, but when you've done almost like 20,000 deliveries like I have, that adds up. 50 cents for 20,000 deliveries is $10,000 lower over my span of almost 6 years dashing. So that makes a big difference in the long run. And so DoorDash is doing that for every single order. There's millions and millions of orders every single day. So that is a huge increase in their top line revenue. So they're taking all of that and putting it into growing the business, and also on marketing towards getting more dashers, because the whole business model of DoorDash is to deliver as many things to as many people as quickly as possible, so then they can fit in as many deliveries in a 24-hour time frame as possible. So they want as many Dashers on the road as possible so that they can simultaneously deliver the most things in the shortest amount of time, which means that the customers are happier because they're getting their things quicker, and so that DoorDash doesn't have to stack on orders or do anything that's going to delay an order being delivered, because if one person is doing an order, that means another order is waiting for a Dasher. In theory. So say there was 1,000 Dashers on the road in one little town and there was only 900 orders that were being ordered at that time. That's perfect for them because every single order is not having any wait for a Dasher, and then you have 100 Dashers just sitting around waiting for another order to pop up. So that is why we are seeing longer wait times in between orders, or at least I have in my area. That's because things are just getting oversaturated. DoorDash wants as many Dashers on the road as possible. They really don't care how experienced you are. They want the inexperienced Dashers because they don't know what it used to be like. They don't know the $6.50 pay. They don't know that base pay used to be $3, even on a stack order. New Dashers don't know these things. They don't know that DoorDash has been caught stealing tips. They don't know all the sketchy stuff that DoorDash does on a day-to-day basis and how they just deactivate people randomly for hardly any reason, and how they have their business structured perfectly to where we are independent contractors, yet we don't get to set our pay, which kind of goes against what being an independent contractor means. But we'll get into that next video. Trust, we'll go on a deep dive into that. But now that you understand the business model of DoorDash is to deliver every single thing that anyone can order and have it delivered as quickly as possible, you can understand why they are slowly lowering the base pay, raising the fees so that they can pocket the difference, put that into marketing, put that into getting more Dashers, put that into refunds for the customer, because let's be honest, they would rather have happy customers than happy Dashers. They don't care if Dashers are happy. They know that anyone from anywhere at any time is going to be desperate enough to deliver a $2 order. There are people out there who do not care. There are people out there who make $8 in an hour, and that's good money to them. They're willing to stay out and dash 18 hours a day every single day because they're used to making a lot less than that. And so they don't want us to make money. In fact, they would prefer it if the people who think that we're not getting paid enough just stop working, because then they can allow more Dashers into a specific area who don't know all the sketchy stuff DoorDash does, who don't know how things used to be, and then they can take all the $2 orders, they can do all this. And because their whole business plan is to get as many orders delivered in the shortest amount of time possible, that's why they almost force us to accept every single order now. Things did not used to be this way. You could have a 2% acceptance rate and it would not affect anything. Basically, the way that the algorithm chose the Dasher was just whoever was closest to the restaurant. That is not how it goes at all anymore. Acceptance rate definitely does matter. Now, if you're in a big city or you're in a busy area, then it really doesn't matter as much because the flow of orders is constant. But if you're in an area like mine that is just a suburb in Utah, not that busy, then you will see a huge drop-off of orders if your acceptance rate drops below 85%. And if it drops below 70%, you'll see an even bigger drop-off of orders. I mean, when my acceptance rate was like 50%, there would be hours on end that I would get no orders. Now that it's in the 90%, I do see constant streams of orders. So they created programs like the Top Dasher program, which wasn't even a thing until 2019, I believe, maybe 2018. Can't remember exactly, but they introduced that. That was kind of after they went away from the $6.50 pay and started doing the $3 base pay plus tips. That's when they started doing the Top Dasher. And then they realized, oh, that's not a big enough incentive. So now we're going to introduce the Priority Dasher, where your acceptance rate has to be above 50% for you to get a little bit of priority. And then if it's above 70%, then you'll get even more priority. And I've actually tested this before. It definitely makes a difference in my area. Like I said, all areas are different. If you're in a very highly populated area where there's a constant flow of orders, then it probably doesn't matter as much. But I know for smaller markets like mine, it definitely does. And then they were like, well, that's still not working as well as we hope. So then they did earn by time. And every single time they introduce something like that, they are slowly depleting the base pay. Like, that's what's insane. They're slowly making it so that Dasher pay is highly correlated to the customer tipping instead of DoorDash having to fork over money. And this is why, in my opinion, we will likely see DoorDash base pay continue to go down. I mean, there's been protests and strikes and all sorts of things like that have happened in years past. And all it's done is led to DoorDash introducing earn by time, which in my opinion, total scam because there's no incentive to decline orders. You have no idea what you're going to be accepting. And it's just a way to get all of their orders and all of the no tip orders accepted, in my opinion. And so we see stuff like that introduced, and we have only seen the base pay continue to drop. Pay has not gotten any better. I promise you guys this, maybe in like New York or Seattle or certain places like that, they make the earn by time pay $29.93 or whatever it is. But I can almost guarantee you that the delivery drivers who were delivering in New York before the pandemic or during the pandemic probably made more money. Now, you can correct me if I'm wrong. If you've been doing DoorDash for like 4 or 5 years now and you live in New York or Seattle or one of these cities, you can correct me if I'm wrong. But I know for myself, I was making way more money before these strikes even happened. Because after these strikes, all that's happened is DoorDash has lowered the base pay and introduced more dashers and put more money into marketing so that they could just get more customers while simultaneously adding way too many dashers and oversaturating every single area. And the final reason why they could not care less about if we make money or not, and why they prefer it if we don't make money, so then we quit and they can just bring on more people who are more desperate. Because to be honest, it's just a waiting game. It's only a matter of time before they don't even need dashers. Let's face it, there are going to be self-driving cars. I mean, have you seen Apple Vision Pro? I mean, that thing is insane. The technology that we have nowadays is absolutely insane. The things we can do now with AI, the technology is only going to increase exponentially. So Teslas are going to get better at self-driving. They'll probably make a specific car that's like a DoorDash car partnered with Tesla or partnered with some self-driving car that just goes around and picks up the orders for us. I don't know if that's going to be in 3 years. I don't know if that's going to be in 5 years. I don't know if that's going to be in 10 years, but it is going to happen. They don't want to have to pay dashers. So it's just a waiting game for them. We can protest all we want. We can go on these strikes. It's not going to matter because there's always going to be someone who's desperate enough to go out and accept those garbage orders. They could lower the base pay to $1 per order and people would still DoorDash all over, endlessly, for 18 hours a day. They do not care how low the pay gets. As long as they can make a couple bucks and they have the freedom, they're going to be doing it. There are always people desperate enough. There are people who have no degree or who are not educated in any way or who don't like working or feel like they have no skills that can do this job. The barrier to entry is so low that's why I'm saying there will always be people desperate enough to do DoorDash. So that's how they can get away with lowering the pay and why they honestly couldn't care less. There's going to be self-driving cars. They already have drone delivery at Walmart, so that's only going to get better. They're going to have bigger drones that can carry more stuff. And I've already seen restaurants being built without a lobby. It's just like the kitchen area, and they're being built with a drone pad. This is happening. So it's only a matter of time. They just have to wait us out. They really don't care. Even if half of the dashers all of a sudden just decided we're not dashing for a week, guess what? There are hundreds of thousands of people on waiting lists right now that they could just immediately put on the platform who don't know all the sketchy stuff that goes on. They don't know the expenses that are associated with it. They don't know any of this stuff. So unfortunately, when you are a DoorDash driver, this just comes with the territory. When you sign up to DoorDash and you decide to do this as your full-time job, this is the stuff you have to deal with. Unfortunately, we don't have a say in how much the base pay is. But we do have control over what orders we accept. And unfortunately, they have made it in a lot of areas where acceptance rate does matter. So you do have to take some of the garbage orders. But if you don't like that, then they don't care. You can quit. They want that. So it is what it is. I appreciate the fact that people are willing to go on strike and to take a stand, because in next video, I'm going to completely obliterate DoorDash and expose them for the true scam that they are, because I'm going to go into a deep dive on the math on just how messed up their whole business is. I mean, it's pretty corrupt, the stuff that they don't tell DoorDash drivers. So I'm going to be going over that in next video. And so I appreciate people who are willing to stand up to this company that honestly treats its independent contractors like garbage and who couldn't care less about them and who take more money for themselves than what they pay the driver. And so I appreciate the people who are willing to strike and stand up. But unfortunately, there's just people desperate who are always going to work, who are always going to want to work for DoorDash. And strikes aren't going to make a difference unless you were to get every single person, even the people on waiting lists, to go for the strike and have it for an extended period of time, not just one day. DoorDash can afford to lose a day of earnings. They don't care. I mean, they care, but it doesn't affect their overall business. I think their top line revenue is like $2 to $4 billion or something like that. Like, they're making billions of dollars every year. You think one day, a couple $1 million is going to affect them? No, it's not going to matter. Their stock price is going up, and that's really all they care about. So once again, I don't know how many times I can say this. I appreciate what the strike is trying to do, but yeah, it's unfortunate that this is what it comes down to, is that people are having to not work when they're the ones needing the money so that they can take a stand, because they are being paid unfairly, to be honest. And again, I'll go over more of how DoorDash is doing that and just how unfair the pay is in my next video. So stay tuned, subscribe. I hope you guys are enjoying this series. Like I said in last video, I'm uploading every single day this week, videos that are correlated to this topic. I'm just trying to give you guys as much DoorDash expertise and as much DoorDash knowledge that I've gained over the past 6 years. So if you enjoy it, make sure you subscribe, and I will see you guys tomorrow.